I think you've both got a lot going for you, and I think that especially together, I think you guys are really going to do a lot of good things. So, and any help you need, obviously, give me a shout. But now we're going to do the first ever episode of the Other Q show, where you guys are going to interview me. So we're just going to switch over, and we're going to get into it.
All right. How's it feel being on the other side of things?
It's interesting. It's nice.
Yeah.
I've been trying to think about other people who do this kind of thing, this dynamic, and I can't find anyone that does it. So it feels very novel because it's the first time I've done it. I've never been interviewed by an interviewee before. I'm very curious to hear what you guys want to know. So
I'll start with the first question. We were just talking about Buffalo, and I think there's no better place to start than your story, how you're in Buffalo, and what you love so much about being here.
For sure, yeah. I do love Buffalo, and I feel very lucky to be here, especially building what I'm building with Q. It's been the perfect place to build it. If I were building in London or LA or New York, there's no way I would have gotten nearly as far as I have at this point. The community in Buffalo is very, very special and very supportive, and very much like people want to see this place grow. They want to grow, and they want like the community to grow, and it feels like that. And you said about feeling welcome in every place. For the most part, again, same with me. Like I've just felt very welcome everywhere. So much support. Like I've been in Buffalo for almost 3 years now, and I know hundreds of people in this city at this point, and a lot through my work with Q, but also just my kind of pushing out and trying to get to know different communities and people. And again, I couldn't do that in LA or New York. It's a very different vibe. So it's a Kitty. She's just going to lay all right. She normally features somehow in one of these episodes. So I love it here. But the reason as to which I'm here. So the short story of it is that I was living in LA before this. I was living in LA for 8 years. Lived in Hawaii for a year, and then I came back to LA, and I didn't want to be in LA at all. And in 2022 I left the film industry, completely changed my life, completely changed my career. I'm like, I'm gonna go and work out what it is I've been working on. Like I had my whole life, I knew I was pulling pieces together for something that was gonna be in my future, that was gonna bring it all together. And my last year in LA, when I was trying to kind of changing my life and working all this out and getting to that point, I didn't want to be in LA. And so my partner at the time and her and I just wanted to be in nature and live in a quieter place where we could work on our projects. And she was originally from Buffalo. And so it came up, and I ended up visiting here before that thought and loved it right away. I felt a great connection to this place. I felt really good energy here. I had this sense of potential in Buffalo, which I even more so do now. It really could become something. It's got a lot of work to do and a lot of people to change their minds, but it could absolutely really become something very special. And so I came here for peace and to really work out what Q was and develop that, and myself at the same time. And it's just been the perfect home for that. Like this, where we are right now, this is the greatest home I've ever had. I love it so much. My landlady Sue is amazing. She's awesome. Like I have wonderful friends here. You know, it's easy to move around. Like I'm out on my bike all the time. I have Delaware Park just there. Like I feel like as you go through your life, there'll be moments that are like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10, right? For me, in the last year plus, it's been 10 out of 10 consistently every single day. I'm living the greatest life I've ever lived, and it's only getting better every day. And Buffalo is a huge part of that, and so I'm so grateful. Kitty, you can push her off if...
No, she's good.
All right.
Yeah, yeah, you go.
Sorry. So one of the things that Keen and I were talking about is going away to school and kind of feeling that in that new community, maybe we weren't as accepted as we had been in Buffalo, and dealing with going to school, being in that bubble, if you will, and then coming home and having like a completely new life and that like identity shift. I know you mentioned that you lived in LA, in Hawaii, you traveled the world for your past jobs. Now you're in Buffalo and settled down. But is there anything about traveling that much, being in all those different places, that kind of made it hard for you to have like a singular identity and like conflicted in any way between those different locations and not being able to settle down? And how has that kind of affected you, and how has it made you where you are right now?
Well, there's a lot in there. There's so many questions in there, but I'm going to go. The first piece is you talking about going somewhere elsewhere and kind of not fitting in right away, right? That's the reality of life, in that if you think about this, if you zoom out, you grew up in Buffalo, or your friends are from Buffalo, or your family's from Buffalo, or the people around you are from Buffalo, and you go somewhere new, those people are not from Buffalo. They don't think like you, they act differently, they move around the world differently. So it's very unlikely you're just going to slot into that. And so I would expect that in life in general. And I think for me, to kind of moving on to me, I always assumed that fact, right? From a very young age, I had this sense that to understand myself as much as I could, I needed to get out in the world. I needed to meet people. I needed to have experiences. I needed to see the world, which traveled a lot, as you just mentioned. And in all of those places, I was different to those people. And in fact, to be honest, I'll go to Williamsville, or I'll go, people are different to me. In fact, in Buffalo, most people are different to me. Mm-hmm. But the point is that everyone's going to be different for you. And going in understanding that is a great advantage, and using it as an advantage, right? Because the way I look at that is, that person's different to me. How? Like, do they do some things better than me? Like, what can I learn from their experience and their perspective and whatnot? And so while there's been a lot of friction along my journey for different reasons, I had a lot of things I needed to work out, understand about myself, and it caused a lot of friction over the years. I was always curious. Like, I was always like, what can this situation offer me? And that's what I would encourage you to do, is to look at everything like that. It's like, yes, this is difficult. Why? Like, what's different about the situation to the ones I've been in, and how can I use it to make sure that the next situation I'm in, I can navigate it a bit easier. And for me, traveling all those years and doing all those things, again, it was always an adventure to me, and it was just adding on, and every one made the next one easier and easier and easier. Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh, actually, I will add one more note. You mentioned settle down. So for me, actually, traveling is like one of my favorite things to do. I have no intention of slowing down on that front. In fact, the last few years I haven't done so much because of different reasons in my life and different things, constraints. But what I'm working towards actually is my base will be here, and I will be traveling a lot more in the years ahead again, which I'm very excited about.
Okay. That's great.
So one thing when I went to college that I noticed was I didn't like living this. I felt like I was living a double life, where I would live at home for the summers and for the breaks, and then I would go to and I would hang out with this certain group of people, right? Whether it's my parents or my friends from Buffalo and that kind of group. And then I would kind of pick my stuff up and go away for 3 months and not see these people for 3 months, and go live with a completely new people, or a completely new group of people, a completely new place. And it was strange kind of navigating this like double life and kind of feeling at home at either place. So you travel a lot, you move around a lot. Do you notice a similar feeling, and how do you kind of navigate that feeling? How do you make that work for you? Because it sounds like you really like moving around.
I do love it. I really do. Now, there's a couple of things in there as well, but the feeling at home. Feeling at home, I think, is when you can be yourself, right? When you can feel relaxed and safe, and you trust, and you're comfortable, and you're joyful. Like, that's feeling at home. And so this, I would argue, is my greatest home I've ever had, because I feel more like myself than I've ever felt. And the same thing when I go back. I just went back to England, and I felt at home in England, very much so, in the country with all my friends and family and the people around me. Like, I felt very, very at home. So the idea of home is a broad one in my mind. But they're with people I know and I'm comfortable with and whatnot. And so it's very rare I'd go somewhere new and feel at home. I can't think of anything off the top of my mind, because it's all new. And that's the focus there, is I don't want to be at home, right? I want to step outside of myself and my comfort zone and my realm of like knowledge and ability, and I want to expand upon it. So I go to be away from home to grow and experience.
Sweet. I know Keen and I are super interested in hearing that perspective because I don't think either of us really think of home as something other than our houses or our city. So hearing that is super interesting. Kind of maybe shifting away from you and your past a little bit and on to Q a little bit. You mentioned earlier when I asked the question that you should see differences like as an advantage and like how people are different and why they're different and stuff like that. And I think that's beautiful and I love it. What do you say to the Q user, if you will, who...
I do.
Yeah.
Say that. Yeah.
Who maybe doesn't think like that, who is hesitant to join a video call because they're nervous that maybe somebody's going to be different than them and maybe won't believe the same things and will kind of shoot their ideas down. What do you say to that person who's skeptical and wants to jump in?
Well, let's even remove Q from the equation
Yeah.
and just go with people and life and growth and like becoming more of a person. And we use a very basic math equation, which is like one of the core philosophies of Q, right? The more things you do and the more people you meet, the more you learn and more you grow. Because if you don't do more things and you don't meet more people, you're creating less opportunities, so you're going to grow less, right? And so if you only speak to the same people, it's the same principle, right? You're only going to learn this amount of stuff from this amount of people. So if you're not going out and being curious about people and you're not, especially people different from you with different ideas and perspectives, you're limiting yourself. It's a really basic math. It's like there's one and one, and if you take that one away, you're just left with one, and you're not going to make two out of it. And so it's very basic in that sense. It's my philosophy. And then so what I would say to people is this again is like, if you stay in your bubble, if you limit yourself to this exposure, this is as much as you can grow. That's it. If you expose yourself to more, whether it's people, experiences, ideas, I think there's a lot of fear and mistrust and people in camps. Division has been fueled deliberately in many cases, and as a result of social media and the internet, and we're at an all-time high of division, and one of the real negative impacts of that is exactly the opposite of that idea, is that the people are closing themselves off, right? They're scared of other people. If you disagree, I'm not interested. People are breaking up families because they have such different beliefs, whether it's political or anything other. Like, people are breaking up with their families and their dear friends over these things, and that's such a shame, because again, they're limiting themselves and they're breaking themselves off from these opportunities to learn and grow, especially when it comes to conflict, especially when it comes to difference, because again, you two know each other very well, right? You know each other inside out. You disagree, right? You almost know what the other one's going to say, and so you learn stuff from it, but not as much as if you were talking to someone you don't know and who thinks differently and disagrees with you completely. And I think that the other part of it is, it should be curiosity over victory, right? So it's like when you go into an experience, especially in this case with someone who completely disagrees with you, like, it's not about changing their mind, it's about understanding. And I think that's the other part of the approach that people are lacking, or not everyone, of course, but a lot of people is just seeking understanding and seeing it as an advantage for yourself. Like, I think that's one of the angles for me with Q from the beginning was very deliberate, is I think one of the mistakes a lot of initiatives and ideas have is bad branding. And by that I mean they approach people and they say, basically, you're doing this wrong, right? You should be doing this because it's good for everyone else and it makes a better community, makes a better society. Fine, and it's not untrue, it's true. But actually what I'm saying is, do these things, like open yourself up in this way, and the benefit is to you primarily. Like, the more you do that, the more you add on and the more value you gain, more people, more experiences, more, the better you get. And the more you practice it, the easier it gets. By the way, the easier it gets to talk to difficult people. Like, I've been practicing it my whole life, and it is very difficult. I've worked with some pretty crazy minds and very difficult people along the way, and it takes a lot of patience and curiosity and understanding and compassion as well. Like, I guess the last thing I'll say on that subject is there's people most people live in bubbles, right? So when you talk to someone who completely disagrees with you, I think a lot of us attach our mindset and what we know to other people. They should know this because they should think like this because but they don't have your experience. They have lived a completely different life. They've not had the people who've influenced them in the same way, right? They don't have access to the same information, especially today. Like, they are really living in a different reality at this point. I think that's where we're that extreme. So again, not going into win or whatever, it's just like curious to understand it and doing it for yourself. Like, the advantage isn't for that person, although it will be good for them. It's about you. And I think that's what I would say to people. Really, it's about you and what can offer value to you.
That's really interesting. I think people would have a lot more compassion for others if people shared your belief around the world. But kind of moving forward on that, so you kind of mentioned how the benefits of kind of expanding your bubble and kind of meeting new people. But imagine you could kind of shape and change the world exactly how you wanted with Q. What is your like ideal world? Like, what will Q do in the world, and how will it change the world if everything goes to plan and it works perfectly?
Everyone will be present. That's like the core kind of philosophy and mission of Q, is to help everyone develop the ability to learn from every moment. Okay, that's what I'm doing. But with Q, one of the core things for me is not telling people to do something. It's kind of creating an experience or an opportunity for them to look at a situation in a way that allows them to experience something and therefore understand it, right? And presence is the ultimate example. It's when you say, I've heard it many times in my life, just be present, be present. And when you're not present, you don't realize that, you don't know that, there's an ignorance to it. And I'm like, I am present, I am listening, right? I am focused. I wasn't in most of those times, right? So what I want to do is help people be present, because when you are present, you are consistently learning and growing, because you're just paying attention to everything going on around you. And what in the presence, in that learning and growing, you feel joy because you get better. So there's this constant sense of joy. And then again, also with that presence, there's a curiosity that's kind of layered underneath it, just because you're like, what is happening in this moment and this moment and this moment? And that's in that focus. So the ultimate ambition for me is to get people there. But the way to get there is a long, long path and a lot of different pieces of the puzzle. And again, to come to the learn from every moment and how it's a very simple objective. And again, with that presence, what I've done with learn from every moment is activated it. I've said to people, what I'm saying to people is, go into any situation with the intention to learn from every moment. And as soon as you make that choice, when you go into a conversation, experience, whatever it is, you're present by default, because you're looking at stuff, you're looking for details, you're looking for how you feel, how someone else is feeling, like what's going on around you. So instead of saying be present, I'm saying go learn from that moment. And just from making that choice, they are present. So that's the ultimate ambition, but the way to get there for me is a very layered one. But maybe that gives you a general idea.
Yeah, so yesterday, I know we kind of were talking again at Seneca 1, and one of the things that you kind of urged the crowd there to do was to pick like one moment maybe to pay attention to that you wouldn't have otherwise paid attention to. My question for you is, did you do that yourself yesterday or today? And what was that moment and what did you get out of it?
I tried to do it in a few moments. It was actually more, I think the one that made the most difference or the most reflection on it was when I was sitting working yesterday. And I was just working on branding stuff, like coding and different things and whatnot. And I thought about the morning and I thought about my prompt and I thought, I do this every day. I'm always working on this stuff. And I just stopped. And I just thought, okay, like and I thought, am I thirsty? Am I hungry? Is my back hurting? Right? Like, so in that moment, or how am I feeling? Like, am I enjoying this work? Like, could I be focused on something else? And that's so much stuff. Like, there was so much just from that moment of, okay, this is what I'm doing now, but am I like really taking into account all the other pieces? Like, am I listening to all the other messages my body and my mind is sending me while I'm present and focused on this? And so I did. There was so much, and I went and got some water. Yeah. So there was a couple of other moments in the day as well. And And those things in general, I'm actually going to be starting a new daily thing where I do these prompts for people to kind of take a piece of your day and turn it into a lesson, an opportunity.
That's awesome.
So one of your big things that you kind of preach is presence, and you've mentioned a lot of ways to kind of feel more present in the moment. Is there anything else that you've kind of not touched on that you try to think about and be mindful of when trying to kind of learn how to be more present?
I do so much stuff. I think one of the things for me, so 20 years ago, this is zooming out a bit and not specifically on presence to start with, but 20 years ago, about your age, I was like, okay, I want to be strong and healthy, not just now, in 70 years. So I started to think about what I need to do now to get myself to the best place now, mentally, physically, spiritually, but also when I'm older. And so, and as I thought about that, and over the years, I didn't just want to like grab one thing and be like, meditation is the thing, or yoga is the thing, or whatever it is, or like going to the gym. It was, for me, I was like, I want to develop loads of different skills with this general ambition so that I always have something to pull on in every situation. So there's no specific one thing, but I'll give you a list of a lot of things that I do and I've continued to practice for a long time. Meditation and mindfulness. The deepest practices, like my mind there's a library in there now, and there's a little guy that goes and pulls files out for me. It's like, it's so deliberate and organized. It wasn't 10 years ago. It took a lot of development and practice and work. Mindfulness, meditation, that came to me initially through yoga, which is like one of my happiest places. I've been practicing for 10 years. Life-changing for me when I did it for the first time, and it's like completely changed my mind, body and spirit in every single way. I practice 4 or 5 times a week in the studio. It's like that is the place I feel most present, like everything connected at once is yoga, and get most work done there. Being out in nature is my favorite place to be, and when I'm in nature, especially on my own, I'm just present, and I'm just and again I'm practicing it. I'm taking in all the elements, again, how I'm feeling, and all the different pieces of the puzzle. The other is deliberate practice, to be honest. Again, when I'm working and not being distracted and whatnot, especially with phones and distractions, it's like and it's around that is building good habits. We all develop bad habits over our lives, and I developed many over my life. And I first had to unlearn those habits and develop new ones. And again, that was a very deliberate, you could argue, mindful practice of like breaking down my life piece by piece over many, many years to just kind of like, it was really a step-by-step, piece-by-piece finessing. And all of these things were all practice. And now when it comes to presence, like I would argue I'm really only been fully present for the last year. I kind of got to the end of a lot of stuff and really got to that place. And now though, like I'm here right now, as I am in every moment. I'm right there, unless I don't want to be or need to not be in my mind. And it's just a complete game changer. So I think if I would again zoom out and kind of give a general idea, I practiced a lot of things and paid attention to what they gave me and what the experience was like, and then pulled it all together to kind of find like the way to realize this ambition of feeling this way and being present, I guess.
I love that. Very beautiful. I especially loved what you were saying about nature. And I know earlier you mentioned moving to Buffalo, kind of gave you an opportunity to be out in nature and appreciate all of its beauty. Keen and I took a road trip last year out west. We love being out west, being in nature just in general. And I think for me, it's almost a spiritual thing when I'm outside and I see the leaves on the trees and I look at the gaps in between the branches and the leaves and think about how that one gap up there is unique and maybe not present in any other place in the world. So that's kind of a time when I kind of find myself especially cognizant of the world around me. Is there anything about nature or maybe your painting or your yoga, any one process or one moment in particular that you really feel this is super cool, and the fact that I'm acknowledging this is something that maybe not other people acknowledge, but it's super cool? Is there anything like that?
Many things, yeah, for sure. Even if yoga, just the feeling in yoga, like compared, if I think back to my past self and how I felt during my life to how I feel in that, like it's just a whole other level. It's like a super being in comparison to how I feel. Amazing. But nature, I mean, I'm in awe of it all the time. I left yesterday the house, and the clouds were these, it was really stormy yesterday, and they were like those undulating clouds with like dark spots and light spots, and I was marveling at it. And I do that every single day. Like I think the thing with nature is it's different every single day, and that's wonderful. And so when you live in a city, you don't see much of that change, and you can things get monotonous and whatnot. Nature really shows you what is possible and what can be done in a very short space of time with very little resources. You know how we can grow. So I love that. But being creative, as you say, for me, that's like. There's moments when I have ideas and they just come to me, and it's like my whole body feels it, like it just is a rush of energy, and it's just the greatest feeling, like being creative and having ideas and being able to I've been working on developing a TV series, Q Games, and I just really brought it all together and like came up with the whole thing the other day, and it was like the greatest feeling, because I've been working on it for like a year and a half in my mind too. And the same thing with painting as well, when you're just you can't not be present when you're painting, right? It's very difficult to not be present, and if you're not present, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You got to really, and a lot of problem solving, a lot of focus. So again, all of these things, really the commonality again is presence. Like I'm present in all these things, so much so that I'm really feeling it all and like experiencing the moment and what's happening in it. And again, I've been very deliberate about broadening the spectrum of this. Like I want to be able to do all these things for as long as I can. Like all my choices of make yoga, I can do that when I'm 90. I can play golf when I'm 90. I can paint when I'm 90. I can't run. I can't play football, right? And so those things I say goodbye to. I'm making very deliberate choices for the moment, sure, but also to kind of extend the moment and kind of maintain the consistency of growth, even as I get older and my body diminishes naturally.
So you seem to have a lot of thoughts and a lot of kind of, you've definitely been thinking about these things for a while. When did you kind of begin thinking about like how presence is one of the most important things that you can have as a human, and kind of how did that thought pattern start, and how do you organize those thoughts? Do you use like an inner dialogue? Do you write them down in a journal? Do you do something else? Like kind of explain how you kind of go about your day and kind of how you organize your thoughts.
Well, I think the thing with presence is it's almost a means to an end. Like it just, when you are present, it allows you the opportunity to just excel in everything you're doing, right? Again, I'll give a very basic math equation, okay? Let's say I'm painting a painting, and 80% of my attention is on the painting, okay, and 20% is distracted, and I'm not present, and so I'm not fully present. There's a little bit over here. My painting is only going to be 80% as good. It's really that simple. So that presence, like to have developed that for me, just means that I'm giving 100% to everything all the time, and because I'm so present, I know when I can give 100% or when I need to pull back, or like and again it was a practice. So so much so as a result of it, really. And then the second part of the question was, remind me.
It was basically like, how do you organize these thoughts? Like how do you kind of, how have you kind of like go about your day and think about these things?
Sure. So a few different ways, actually. Like if it's a big idea, for example, the TV series that I've just kind of really got in a nutshell, that idea I planted in my brain a year and a half ago. I'm like, I want to create this show, and I want it to feel like this, and I want this to be the dynamic and the result and the outcome. But I had no idea what it was. So I just would park that thought in my brain and let it simmer. And along the way, as I went through the last year and a half, little pieces would come to me. And I'd be like, oh, that's useful for that. That's useful for that. And again, there's 20 ideas I'm working on or have been working on. This will go to that, but also maybe it will connect to this, and we can bring it together. So I let it simmer, the big ideas. I just let them simmer for a while. I used to I want to sit at a computer, I've got to get this out. And now I understand, I'm just going to let it simmer. And it will come out when it comes out, and I just need to have all the information, and sometimes you can't force it. And so that. But in general, day to day, like as organizing my own thoughts, I write notes a lot and lists a lot. I often send myself emails. Like I sometimes will come home and I'll have 10 emails from myself, which will be sometimes one word, or sometimes there'll be a paragraph of something. It'll be like a whole idea for a whole thing. So I just kind of organize that, and then I take it from there, and if I need to, I put them into different like Google Docs or whatever, little deliberate spaces, and kind of try and organize things to keep abreast of everything and keep information in one place. But generally, I every day I take time to meditate, to clear my mind, to run through the priorities personally and with work and whatever and whatnot. And that's it. Like it's just really just again very deliberate. I just pay attention to it. Like if I'm feeling overtired, I'm like, okay, I need to rest my mind today, and I can't organize as well. I can't do this as much as I could, or not. Or I've got extra stamina today, and I'm like so into it. It's like let's just run with it. But again, it comes down to presence and just really feeling and understanding myself, which I'm still doing, still learning about. Long way to go.
Amazing. I think that is pretty much all that we have for you today, but
okay.
Thank you so much. We're happy to be the inaugural guests on the other Q show.
Thank you both so much. It's been interesting questions, and it's just been great to get to know you both better as well. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.
Cool, man. Yeah, you just shut off.